Hello, everyone. My name is Mark Kageyama, and I'd like to welcome everyone here to Be Your Own Hero. I am a stage 4 cancer patient with prostate, bone, and lung cancer, and things are improving, and I'm so thrilled and happy to be here. I'm doing absolutely fantastic, and I hope you are too. And thank you once again for joining us at To Be Your Own Hero. And this is going to be a different type of video, and we're back here uh, with David Williams, former NHL player with the Anaheim Ducks, and we're going to talk about life in the aspect of a professional hockey player. And so I am so excited about this because I've had a lot of conversations prior to talking to David, and I mean I just absolutely love it, and I love hearing what he has to share, and I hope you will too. So at this time, what I'd like to do is I'd like to, uh, and a quick reminder, please uh, please like, subscribe, and make a comment in the comment section of the video. And now what I'd like to do is to reintroduce to you David Williams, and he's on the East Coast. And thank you once again, David. Please introduce yourself, and let's get this thing going.
Yeah, so thanks for having me again, Mark. And I know the last conversation was kind of surrounded by with my CBD business, but through the conversation we started talking about a bunch of other things related to sports. And you had a great idea to just I could talk about sports and kind of my experience with certainly my kids in youth sports and professionals transitioning in the life. So I'm happy to go wherever the conversation goes with this, because it is a topic that's near and dear to me, and I have there's not a cookie cutter right or wrong answer. It's I got some opinions, and I have some things I'm not really sure how people should handle it. But let's go and see what we come up with.
Yeah, that sounds great. When I was growing up, I always wanted to be a basketball player. I was in the gym every day, and then at my college, the Los Angeles Lakers actually practiced every day, so I watched them every day. So I was in that atmosphere a lot around being around players, and I just absolutely found it fascinating, and I love it. And so if you could share with us, your mentality growing up, why you wanted to become a hockey player, and what drove you. So if you could share with us.
Yeah, I mean, I think in a nutshell, I grew up in New Jersey. My both my parents were they're Canadian, from outside Toronto, that area, and so my dad played, but at the time, New Jersey, there wasn't a whole lot of hockey, and so there was a local program, and when my an older brother, and he's 4 years older than me, my dad brought him to go sign up to start playing. It wasn't like, hey, do you want to go do it? He just, hey, get in the car, we're going to sign up. And he left me at home. I was too young, he thought. And I guess I complained so much about not getting to sign up. Finally, there's no team for me to play on. I was too young. And so I literally just practiced with older kids for like 3 years before there was any kind of team that I could play on. And, looking back on it, it's similar. I think the Scandinavians do the same type of thing where they're just kind of practicing and not really playing organized hockey till they're 10, 12 years old. I mean, it might be different now. I'm sure there are leagues or something they're playing in, but I guess my point to that is I was just working on skills. I wasn't really playing what you'd consider the game at the time. I was just learning how to skate and learning all the fundamentals, and truly enjoyed that part of it. I mean, I think in any sport, you get to a certain level where you're always working on your fundamentals, but coaches, um, you always work on fundamentals, no matter how good, what level you're at, because I believe skating is the most important skill in hockey, and you're constantly working on that. And it's not fun sometimes, and that's the kind of trick for little kids is um, how do you get them moving around and keeping it fun? Because sometimes skating's just hard work and tedious. But anyway, in a nutshell, that's how I started. Um, and I just liked the game, and I played on multiple teams all the time. I didn't play as much in the summertime as kids do now, and we can talk about that too because I do think there's I'm a big believer in development in a lot of different ways, and I think you develop your athleticism and even your kind of ability to assess situations in the way any kind of sport transpires and the way things move and the way people get open and the way you defend. That happens in other sports too. And so you learn from doing a lot of different things. And so multiple sport athletes, I'm a big fan of
That's awesome. That's beautiful. What about things such as your focus and your attitude? How important is that?
that. It's huge. And that's it's a tough one to answer because it's going to be different for everybody, and I think from a coach's standpoint, it's my phone going off. Can you hear that? um, from a coach's standpoint, like let me go shut that off 1 second. From a coach's standpoint, I want kids developing, and I'm looking at development over a long term, not like over the course of a half a season or even a week. Or like I want them to practice different positions. I want them to practice, you know, um, playing on their offside, playing forward, playing defense, taking face offs, because um, you develop a certain skill set that either gives you confidence or allows you to see the game a little differently. And if so, you're developing physical kind of skills, but you're also getting in tune with how do you approach the game mentally. Like, and sometimes it starts in the morning, like your whole process. If you're playing a game at night, and you wake up in the morning, you might have a routine that mentally you're not really even thinking about the game, but you're getting your mind in a place where it's sharp and you're comfortable and you're thinking clearly, and you play well. That might be different than other kids. Like, you might want to be distracted and maybe you need to watch video or something. And so you're prepared. A lot of people don't want to over prepare because then it just kind of slows you down and bogs you down. You want things to be natural and comfortable. You don't want to have to think about stuff. So in a nutshell, whatever makes you comfortable, and you have to always like think back, and it's not as easy as it sounds. What was I doing when I played well? You think about the times like you're really happy with your play. What did I do? Like, why was that different than what I was doing when I wasn't on my game? And you try to replicate that as much as you can. And sometimes it's, when you're young, maybe it's just like the meal you had, say, hey, you know what, my brother and I, we always made mac and cheese with like this, we made the same meal every game, and somehow it's like, what, we rallied around that, and you know it made us feel good for the game. It's different when you get older. Like, guys will go and do stupid little things in warm up to get themselves prepared, or superstitions about getting dressed. It's an individual thing. Some guys want to be relaxed, some guys want to be all hyped up, and I think with good coaches or good leadership, they kind of can steer people in the right direction. Like, does that kid need a kick in the ass, or does that guy need a hug, or like whatever it is. Good leaders and good coaches will recognize, what do I need to do to that person to, or how do I nudge him to play in his best.
What you brought up a good point about leadership. Uh, Tell me about leadership when it comes to professional sports. How important is that, and what does it mean to you?
It's really important, and I think you'll see certainly with teams, certainly in NHL teams. I think certainly playoffs and important games. Who comes to play in those games, and oftentimes it's a long year. You start playing in September, the regular start training camp in September, the regular season starts in October. And so you're playing a long time, and you'll start to physically feel the grind, around Christmas time. It's a grind, and you'll have leadership to kind of, and it's not on the ice like somebody like, hey, do this or that. It's more, off ice stuff. And it's like, hey, if you feel you're struggling, it's like, let's go out to dinner or something, and get your head screwed on straight, or how's everything at home. Like, there's a process, and make sure that, what, your life away from the game is in a good spot, because then it'll translate into your on ice performance. um and again, that's something that might take you a lifetime to figure that out. Like, you really have to be introspective of, like, okay, why am I playing well? Or, why did I play bad? Why didn't I get, sometimes it's like, why didn't I get an opportunity in this situation I normally do? How do you rebound from that? And sometimes, if you have a good relationship with the older guys on your team, they can be honest with you and tell you, it's okay, this is a situation that you're in. Think about what type of player you are and why you're here. You might be, if you're a defenseman and you keep jumping up in the play and causing odd man rushes, maybe you shouldn't be doing that. And sometimes that seems pretty obvious, but sometimes it's not so clear to guys. Like, hey, you know what? The team doesn't care if you ever get a point. Just, play rough and keep the puck out of our net. That's it. And so don't try to do anything else. And, if you can wrap your head around, like you talk about role players, it's a lifetime of figuring out who you are. And then all of a sudden it's like, hey, I'm a role player. Some guys buy into it, some guys don't. And, I think the older you get, like, even now I'm 54 years old. I look back and, like, there's some things that maybe I would have changed a little bit in the way I approached the game, if I could rewind the clock. But, it's too late. So, it's always something. I think good leadership is somebody that can, instill confidence and get the most out of you. And sometimes it's not always yelling and screaming, and sometimes a good leader will know exactly how to poke you, and where to take you mentally to get you to perform.
What what is what would be a typical game day for you?
So, game day, you always have a morning practice, and it's a different time before the game. And something short, might be a half hour, 40 minutes. And, and God, I'm getting so old, I can't remember. I think it was like 9 o'clock, 9 or 10, the home team's on the ice, and then 10 or 11, I think, the visiting team. But so, you get to the rink early, in the morning, maybe an hour and a half before practice or something, and start cutting up, preparing new sticks. Treatment if you need to. You got sore aches, pains, or something. Deal with that with the trainers. And then you get on the ice, and it's usually the coaches are going over special teams, and it's like letting the goalies get shots, and kind of, it's just a warm up to prepare your body to, feel comfortable with your, make sure your skates are sharp, and, all your sticks are ready to go. You have a high tempo, kind of a lot of shooting, and kind of a rah rah type practice to get you going. And then, guys will have some free time, whether you want to just practice some stuff on your own. The goalie that's not playing, might get extra shots, or the other skaters that aren't playing, they'll get a workout in, and then you'll go home, and either back to the hotel or at wherever you're living, and eat a big meal, and then take a nap for a couple hours, and then show back up to the rink at 4:30-ish, depending on when you wanted to be there. And you kind of start doing the same thing. You might be some special teams videos or something, and just slowly get dressed. And and then 40 minutes before the game time, I think you start warm up for 20 minutes, or it might be 15 now, and play the game. And after the game's gonna last 2 hours, 45 minutes, 3 hours, something like that. And so that time's probably 10:30 at night. Just kind of, undress, take a shower, and then you got to go get something to eat. And so we used to go out a lot after the game, just to grab something quick at a local restaurant and then go home. And so by the time you get home, might be like midnight, and you're still kind of wound up, and it's hard to sleep after a game because you're so wound up. And so that wears on you a little bit. You got to get to sleep, and then you got to turn around and practice again the next day. I mean, you're playing regular season, you're probably playing 3 games on average a week, with practices between that. And so you really have to concentrate on taking care of your body in that time, because you lose a lot of water weight every game. You lose like 6-7 pounds every game of just water. And so you got to keep replenishing that, and over the season, because it does wear you down. And that's, again, where the older guys in leadership can help you out, because you see a lot of excuse me, the concern with college kids. They're not used to playing 82 games. I think it was my first year out of college. I played. It was maybe it was my second year out of college. I was trying to play on the '92 Olympic team, and so we started playing in August, and then I got cut from that team kind of the end of August, and I went to San Jose's training camp, played 10 exhibition games, then went, and I think I played about 56 games in the NHL and like maybe 30 in the minors. And so there I'm pushing 100 games right now. And then I went to played in the World Championships over in Helsinki, and I think I played like 12 games over there. So I'm well over 100 games. And my college career, I might have played like 25 every. It's a big difference. And so to stay focused and sharp for that amount of time is hard when you're not used to it.
At that point in your career, um, how important was diet for you, or was that a concern at all? Because I know today's game is big.
It's always a concern. I didn't look at it like, and I think guys are just, sports in general now, they're probably more in tune with staying healthy than we were. I mean, diet was always important in the sense that, as a kid and a young man, I always struggled to keep weight on. That's changed over the years, but so I needed to keep calories in, and so I need to force myself to eat. Like, even after practice, we had like a little kitchen in the locker room, and we're taking, protein, and we were taking protein powders, and they're like dietary supplements that, like, they're more like a meal replacement that people take to lose weight. We're eating them and drinking that stuff with our meal just because it's extra calories. So we really needed to pack on calories. And yeah, you don't want bad calories, but I just needed calories to keep weight because I was burning so much. And so you do pay attention. It's like, and I think over the years, back in like the 70s, it's like, yeah, eat steaks before the meals. And then it turned into carbs. And then it was, kind of like fish and pasta and all this. Like, it always seemed to change. But I remember talking to a nutritionist one time, and this might have been in college. And she was just like, what makes you, like, when you play well, makes you feel good? And so I kind of sat there and thought about it, and like, it's just like plain pot, like with nothing on it. I feel like I almost feel like I'm still hungry, but I'm fueled enough that I like that. And again, it's, some guys, like, they don't like red sauce because you find you're burping it up during the game, and You don't want that. Um, just pay attention to your body. Like, what you digest well and what you don't. I always wanted to be hungry when I played, like literally hungry. And so I'd eat early. I'd probably eat at like 12:30 most days, and then I wouldn't eat anything until after the game. Because I didn't want to have a full belly when you wanted to kind of, feel lean and fast. So I wouldn't eat anything, all the way until 11:30 at night after the game.
Wow, that's a long time.
Yeah, I mean, it's just I think you learn that over the years. Like, early in college, I'd have something small before the games, but it just kind of got, like, I progressed where I didn't want anything in my system. It's really sort of the day before, but when you're playing a really compact schedule, it's like always the day before a game. So, you do what you can. You try to make sure, like, hydration's super important. You can't just, like, an hour before the game fill up with water. You got to be doing that the day before the game at least. So, that's something. And I still drink a ton of water now, because it just makes your body more efficient, and you don't want to get yourself run down and dehydrated.
Well, I'd like to mention for everyone at this time, one of the reasons why I'm doing this, and this is a very different video than anything I've done, but I want to relate everybody to relate it to, different journeys that they may have, whether it's cancer or heart problems or anything like that, because these are all lessons that we could learn that could be applied to other areas of our lives. And so, t- if you could talk about being at the pinnacle of a sport, which being in the NHL, you were at the very pinnacle, and talk about the short career and as well as the retirement factor, what all that entailed.
Yeah, I think in general, what I found was certain industries like hiring athletes because they work hard, they work with the team, they're used to that. They're kind of work, they have a mentality about failing, which I think, and we talked about this a little before. I think failing is a scary thing for people, and I think nowadays, and probably all the time, people don't want to put themselves in a situation where they fail, or they could fail, because one, maybe they're embarrassed about it. Nobody wants to look bad. um and so I think it's failing is part of life, and you should look at it like it's a teaching moment. You're going to learn from what happened and why did I fail. Was I not prepared? Like, was I not strong enough? Did I not understand who I was playing? Like, even in an interview, why did the interview go bad? What did I do wrong? Should I have researched the company more? Like, should I have talked to, reached out to whoever and asked for tips or something? um and I think with anything in life, um failing's not a bad thing. It's when you fail, it's a you've put yourself out there. Like, I know, and I'll go back to, Wayne Gretzky said, 100% of the shots you don't take don't go in. And it's kind of a, over time, it's like, that's kind of cliche, but it's true. If you don't, like, in business, if you don't pick up the phone, if you're in sales or something, you're not picking up the phone trying to talk to people, phone's not going to ring. Same thing looking for a job. Like, you have to get out there. It's like, if I sit in my basement and don't do anything, nobody's calling me for a job. You know, um, you have to put yourself out there and not be afraid to fail. And if you go back to my career playing hockey, I think it was a time where there's no internet, nobody had cell phones, there weren't any like side businesses. In fact, the teams would look at you kind of like, what are you doing? You're like, if I had a little business going on the side, they're like, you're not completely focused on hockey. They would look at it negatively, and that's changed a lot. I think guys have all sorts of interests, and it's somewhat acceptable now. uh, and there needs to be a plan. I mean, we've talked about depression a little bit, and I think what happened in my day, and certainly guys before me, you're super excited to play in the NHL and you want to make as much money as you can and play as well as you can, and then all of a sudden you're not playing anymore. You're like, well, what do I do? Um, you can't wake up in the morning, go play golf, go have lunch, and then go sit at home watch. Like you just, I think you can't do that. It'll slowly like grind you down. Everybody has to have a purpose. And for athletes, that's the struggles of what's the next purpose. What are you going to be happy with doing after you've already kind of hit the pinnacle of your industry? And it's not an easy thing. And I think players need to start looking at that. And when I say players too, I might not be talking about NHL guys. You look at kids that, they do everything right and they're working and working and working. All of a sudden they get cut from their high school team. And like, hey, guess what? There's nowhere for you to play. All right, well, what are you doing now? Are you going to play in another sport, or are you going to go, maybe study and go be an engineer or lawyer or whatever? It's still true with professional athletes, I think. And what am I going to do? Am I going to go maybe go coach? Maybe you go teach. What else are you going to do to run a charity or I don't know, but find out what your purpose is, because I think that will ultimately prevent a lot of depression and help people transition, because the transition's not. I look back and like I was probably naive about the transition. I landed a really good job right out of hockey, and I was probably kind of naive, like, oh, that wasn't so bad. But I was really fortunate, but I also prepared a little bit for it. The year before I retired, I spent a long time looking around to see what I wanted to do. And so maybe I was fortunate, maybe it was I was prepared a little bit, but uh, yeah, you do need to think about it, and you don't, and you should think about it um, before the minute you decide to retire. You should be prepared for it.
I love what you just talked about, finding your purpose, uh, because I think we all, as human beings, that is just so important and so critical. Um, and it really resonates with me because um, cancer for me helped me find my purpose in life. I mean, and I'm so thankful uh, for cancer because without having the experience of cancer, I would
Yeah,
have never been able to find that, and
yeah,
without even realizing it.
it's funny you say that, and I heard a woman CNBC. We had CNBC a lot when I was working in trading, and there's a woman, one of their correspondents. She had breast cancer, and she was kind of out of the office for a while, and I see when she finally came back and had beaten it. Um, she was being interviewed, and one of the comments in there, it's like, they asked her, it's like, how has this affected you? And, how do you look at life now? And she's like, honestly, I'm looking at this as really positive, because partly, I didn't have a great relationship with my brother. And when I got diagnosed, it brought us together. And for the last 2 years, we've really mended the fences and become close. And she's like, if I did never got cancer, that never would have happened. And I can't tell you how happy that, and just her saying how happy I am that we kind of found each other, and again, because without cancer, it never would have happened. And so I was like, that's a really good perspective to have on a horrible situation. So um, perspective, I guess, and how you take a situation and kind of don't let it beat you, or find the good in it. I thought that was a great story, though.
Oh, absolutely. I believe that we never experience things that we can't handle. God doesn't put things in front of us as human beings that we can't handle. It's just in
Yeah.
our minds, whether we think we can handle it or not. And it's, all so much of life is mental, you know. Uh, there's so many things in our lives in today's world that uh, can sideline us or sidetrack us or divert us. And it's so important that we, once you find your purpose, is to, you know, work as hard as you can to fulfill that purpose.
Yeah,
And go
yeah,
ahead.
one of my first interviews it wasn't really an interview. I was kind of talking to guys at banks, and he says to me, he's like, "Hey, draw a box, and you have four corners in it." And he's like, top left, he's like, write down things that you like and you're good at, and then write down things that you like and you're bad at, and then things that you don't like and you're bad at, and things you don't like and you're good at. And he's like, and then it gives you a good perspective. And he's like, the key is like for a job, try to get something that is in that box that you like and you're also good at. Because it's that stuff doesn't line up. I mean, sometimes you're good at something and you don't really like it. I mean, I saw my older son had just pointed out to me today there was a number one girls tennis professional who's 25, retired, I think, because she's just burned out, and she was clearly good at something. I'm sure she liked it at some point, but I think she just found it's like, what, I'm done. I can't do it. And kudos to her for doing it, because sometimes you get stuck in things that maybe aren't for you, but somehow you're good at it. you know um it's a difficult thing. People spend their whole lives and never find it. And so that's where I think, even with little kids, it's like, let them play every sport they want. You might, even if they love hockey, maybe they're terrible at it, but then that's fine too. What do they like? They might like baseball, they might like golf. I mean, try it all. See what you're good at and what you like doing. you know um it's all very different.
David, I've told you this before. I could talk to you for hours and hours and hours, and I hope we do, many more things together. I just really appreciate your time and your input and your honesty, to be able to talk to somebody who's been a professional athlete, and to have them just speak, candidly and honestly, has just been a blessing. And so I want to thank you so much
Yeah,
for
absolutely.
sharing that with us. And what I'd like to do is, right now, is to thank everyone for joining us here at To Be Your Own Hero. And please keep praying for the people in Ukraine and in Russia for a quick end to this war, which has just caused uh, so much stress on the world and so much pain for the people. And we hope that things work out as good as they possibly could work out. And so what I'd like to do right now is, once again, thank David Williams, a former NHL player from the Anaheim Ducks, and for sharing his insights as a player. I mean, I just loved it. I really appreciate that. And thanks everyone for joining us here at To Be Your Own Hero. Please subscribe, like, make a comment in the comment section of the video, and more importantly, appreciate your health. There is nothing, nothing more important than being your health, because if you have your health, you're able to fight the good fight. And so uh, make the most out of every day, every hour, every minute, and every single breath. Thank you so much, and we will see you next time at To Be Your Own Hero. Thank you.